Okay, so I am really excited. This conversation is long overdue.
Yes.
Jessica Eley, welcome to the CD Group podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm glad it finally worked.
Yay!
We took the scenic route to getting to
we are
recording
so on
this.
theme. Like we're
Very
so
on brand.
bloody on
Yes.
team. Like it's almost kitsch. Like, but
Yes.
like okay, so if you've listened to the Scenic Route podcast before, you've for sure heard me mention Jess at one point or another. But let's let her introduce herself in her own words. So hey, Jess,
gosh.
like, well, I mean, you don't have to give us like the elevator pitch, like your story. How did you start? Like how did you got where you today? Like the pivotal crossroads and the big moments.
I don't have a pitch, right? Because I think the thing that I had to learn to do for myself is to learn to be really honest about where I was and then make a very conscious choice about where it was I wanted to go next. And that sounds like stupid obvious, but if you are like a high achiever kind of person, you have like a predefined path, right? Like I had my entire life laid out for myself when I was like 18 or something, right? Probably even before that. And I thought I knew everything that I wanted and I was just going to like check these
Check
boxes
off.
and like it was, yep, it was going to be great. And then like I checked all my boxes by the time I was like 24 and I was miserable. and, but here's the thing is like I still thought that there was like a checklist somewhere, right? I was still looking for this thing outside of me that would give me like this prescription for a good life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so part of why I don't have an elevator pitch is because I meet people where they are and everybody's in a different place. Like I have been truly in the bottom of the shitter and I have worked with people who are at rock bottom and then I've worked with people who are like at the top of their game compared to where they've ever been and still feel like there's more to give, right? And they've never experienced rock bottom. And when I talk about some of the things that myself or others have gone through, they have no sense of what that is. But learning to meet myself and then in extension my clients where they are and helping people make a really intentional choice like yes, this is actually what I want, because I can guarantee you if you're not getting what it is you want, it's either because you don't actually want that thing or because you think you would lose something that is actually more important to you in getting it, right? And
Okay, so pause, Jessica Eley, because I hear everyone go like deck, process, right? So let's quickly break that down. So
yeah,
you can get what you want.
yeah,
Premise number one, if you know what it is.
yes.
I feel
So go ahead.
I feel that's
I'm very
already like a
excited.
trick question. No, I mean, like, okay, so for those who don't know, Jess is my coach. I coached with Jess. So she knows I was at the point one time where I'm like, but I don't know what I want. And I have loads of clients who also like, when asked, what do you want? They're baffled for a lot of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And they have absolutely no fucking no fucking idea what they want.
Yeah.
So how can we get to what we want? And then, yeah, like we don't want to lose that, but one thing at a time. So
Okay. Yeah.
how can we figure that out?
Here's the thing. You definitely do know what you want in that case, right? So when I talk about knowing what it is you want, there's two people. there's the ones who are like, I have no clue. And then there's the ones who are like, yes, I know exactly what it is I want. It's just not happening yet. And it's like, yeah, you don't actually care about that thing. That's why it's not happening yet. Right. Like, for instance, I have talked with people who are like, I really want $1 million business. And they have all these like logical reasons. And some of them are extremely compelling. Right. But then I talk to them more, and it's not actually the thing that they care about. Right. Or the $1 million was the way to get the thing that they actually cared about. Right. But in the example that you give, where you're like, I don't know, the first thing is to stop telling yourself you don't know, because you do know something that you want. Okay. You may not have like a 10-year plan, or even a 10-month plan, or a 10-week plan. That's fine. But like, get as granular as you need to, right? If you are so out of touch with yourself that you're like telling yourself this story of, I don't know what it is that I want, then okay, like start playing the yes no game. Like, do you want to sit outside? Do you want to sit inside? Do you want to eat this, or do you want to eat that? Are you thirsty? Are you not?
Break it down to like moment by moment, right?
Yes,
like, what do you want in this particular moment? Like,
yes, right? Because that's the thing, is like, you're probably where I often run into this is people who have been caregivers. So like moms of young children, people who have taken care of someone who is sick or elderly, anybody where like you have to give up what it is you want because someone else or something else needs you more. So this can also happen if you work in like a highly reactive environment, right? If you're in a career where like you're always like putting out fires, or you're just at the whim of a boss or something like that, you will be unpracticed at hearing what it is you actually want. And then the tendency is to just kind of like pick something out of thin air that like once upon a time you wanted, or something that your family wants for you, or something that your friends want. And so like, yes, I might as well want that too. Right. But you don't actually have any sense of what it is you need right now, because you've been so busy tending to the needs of others around you.
Yeah. And that can also like happen totally unconsciously, right? Like,
yes. Yeah.
I mean, like everything can, right? I just thought like when you said like at the whim of your boss, like that could also totally be, and that's the mean thing, if you're at the whim of your parent or your close caregiver, right? That really fucks you up for good.
Not for good.
Yeah,
you're not
good.
hosed
There's hope
forever.
There's hope. Yeah, otherwise I might just, I don't know, jump off a bridge. But no, we're not gonna do it. There's hope. But
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we stop telling that bullshit story to us, reframe it, and we go granular to, okay, what do I want in this moment? Until we kind of like learn how to tune into ourselves again.
Yep.
And be like, oh, okay. And then maybe you go from moment to moment to day, week, month, quarter, whatever.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So the second part I thought was really interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like, you are afraid to lose something
that you actually want more.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that seems like a total mindfuck. Tell us more.
Some people refer to this as like a values conflict. So you like okay, I have 4 little kids, right? And a lot of my references are mom references. So
that's cool.
For a lot of people, for instance, it could be the kind of thing of like, I want to be there for my family, or it's like really important to me that I be present when my kids are really little, or something like that. But like, I also want money, right? Or I want, or even like, I want the mental fulfillment of like a stimulating career or something like that, right? And what happens is
just basic self-expression. I mean,
yes.
There's not much self-expression.
You're like, just let me be my own person. That would be great.
Let me go have a shit on my own, please. Yeah.
So what tends to happen is that unknowingly we have made an assumption that one thing comes at the exclusion of the other, right? So if I
Mm.
get this, it will cost me that.
So if I get
And
a lot of money, I cannot be a good mom because I'm not
yeah,
spending time with my children.
right.
That is
And it'll usually be more sneaky than that, right? Because anybody with like any form of self-awareness is probably going to catch that. Um, but what it'll be is something like, well, I'm making X amount right now. This amount would actually be better. But I'm working this much right now, and I'm not really willing to work more in order to reach that amount of money that I want to. And so then you start thinking about like all these squirrely ways that you could raise your income without spending more time on it, right? And you start like
opening an
contorting
Amazon
your
shop front, like no.
right. But and like before you know, or you're trying out things like pricing structures that feel like gross to you, or you try a sales script that makes you want to vomit a little bit so that you can close a sale, or you sell into an industry that you have no interest in and it makes your soul die a little bit or something like that, right? And all of this is because you think that you want the more money and you think that it's going to take more time, or that you have to do something that you don't actually want to do, right? It's always like this roundabout, like
Yeah.
when we have made a decision about how to get a result that we want for ourselves too quickly, then we tend to minimize the options or the opportunities that are available to us. And then we run into things that are more important to us, and we're like, nope, sorry, I guess these things can't just happen at the same time, so I must be screwed.
I mean, that's the only logical conclusion there ever
Right,
is, right?
obviously I'm
Like, I
screwed.
mean, obviously, like, I mean, yeah, don't need a coach to tell me that. But so, I mean, it seems like so we're kind of caught and in that black or white duality. It can only be
Yeah,
this or that,
yeah,
instead of flipping the script and be like, why can't it be and
right.
right? Like, why can't it be like more revenue and less work?
Yes.
Well, right? So I have a hunch. We're going now in the very juicy topic that is like one of my what is on my online business bullshit bingo list, like number one, which is abundance.
Yes.
So, like, let's give us the tea about abundance. I mean, it there is all the life and reason behind the broad term of abundance. I
Sure.
feel it gets there's well, I mean, the scientist in me wants to bring in like there is no real definition of abundance that's generally accepted in the
I mean,
online
that's
business
true.
world, and
That is
that's
true.
causing a lot of problems.
Yes.
So how how do you approach um the whole theme of abundance in the sense of like it's not this or that, it's and how do you define abundance for yourself?
I think of abundance as my ability to choose what it is that I want
Mm-hmm.
and the capacity to handle anything that comes along with that.
Mm.
And I think it is both of those pieces that are important. And it's usually only the first piece that gets attention because it's like vision boards and fancy vacations and dollar bills. And like I'm down with that. Like I want you to have whatever the hell you want, right? But again, if you're not getting it, it's probably because you you're not certain of your ability to handle everything that comes along with this. Like a lot of people have heard this expression of like more money, more problems, right?
Yeah.
And if you're thinking of it that way, then that shows me that you haven't expanded your capacity. You're expanding your ability to ask for whatever you want, and that's fine. But you don't get to cherry pick the parts that come with having more money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if this would be like me saying, like, I want to have 4 kids because, like, then we make a basketball team and that's fun, right? We can do big family things together, but I don't want to deal with the fact that now there's a lot more laundry. Now I have to make 4 times as much dinner as I did for my husband and me, because kids eat way more than adults. um, you don't get to cherry pick the, in air quotes, good part. And I say that in air quotes because that is the very thing that indicates to me how developed someone is in their actual sense of abundance, right? Because if you are still labeling shit good and bad, if you are still thinking in terms of like, want this, don't want that, this is okay, this is not okay. And again, it won't be that straightforward. You'll swear up and down you're not doing it, but I'll catch it when you say something to me. Yeah, right. But
she does.
If that is the line of thinking, then you're going to hold yourself back from getting, ironically, the quote unquote good things, right? Because there will be things that come along with that you can't possibly anticipate now, right? A part of the entire notion of a fear of success is because we don't know how life is going to change when you are successful. Like, failing usually implies life stays the same. Life, or maybe you revert to like a step or two ago, right? But you already know how
it's a familiar step, right?
Yes,
like,
right. So if you fail, like, not much has changed. You know how to deal with that, right? If you succeed, life changes in ways that you cannot conceptualize right now because you're not there. And with that will come, again, air quotes, problems that you can't foresee right now. And so the more that you have expanded your capacity to just see those things as like something that comes along with the package, the more you will be able to welcome in the things that you want for yourself. And the narrower your idea is of what is acceptable, or what it is you can handle, or what it is that you are willing to experience in your life, the harder time you will have dealing with anything outside of that, and consequently allowing yourself to grow.
Okay. So far, I follow, and it makes sense, right? I mean, no cherry picking. Like, that's probably the first thing you learn in kindergarten. No, not possible.
Yeah.
But like, so I already hear, like, if this would be like a radio live show, I would already hear people calling in with like, oh, okay, so I'm ready for the money. So how do I expand my capacity then?
Yeah.
I get the not cherry picking part. Okay, good, fine. Like,
there's a lot of aspects to this, right? This is not the work that I do, but I'll tell you right now that if your nervous system can't handle it, you're like, you will not experience more than what you have right now, right?
Because it will be perceived as threat,
dangerous.
Basically. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, this is why we hear about, lottery winners who are broke 2 years later, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Because all they had the capacity for was what they already had, and they revert back to that, right? Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many prongs that you could come at this from, but I think the thing to pay attention to is, or maybe one indicator of how well you're doing, is how much are you labeling things as good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that in like the broadest sense possible. When COVID started, I had some friends, right, for much of Europe and the US and stuff, things kind of shut down like March-ish, right?
Yeah.
And I had friends who were already optimistically making their plans for June, right, when this was all going to be over.
We were all so young.
And I remember immediately telling people like, oh no, mentally, like, I am pretending that this is lasting until 2022, right? And they were like, oh my God, Jess, I'm going to lose my mind. And I was like, no, like, just assume that it's going to be shit. And if we're out of this by June, then like, go on vacation. That's fantastic, right? And like, in doing that, I made completely different choices, right? I set myself up for long-term success because I didn't have a need for things to be different than how they were right then, right? Now, I have the
Okay, so
advantage of
can I
being,
challenge this? Like, so
yes,
basically, you can say, I just put on my absolutely fucking pessimist goggles and expect everything
right.
to be shit. So I
Yeah,
get
that's what it
pleasantly
sounds like, right?
surprised. Yeah. So I get pleasantly surprised all the time. Or
I
not.
mean,
Like,
so the thing is, there are actually people who will be more comfortable becoming abundant in that way, right? Where they will have like almost no expectations and will just allow themselves to be pleasantly surprised. And in their being pleasantly surprised, they will come to expect that more and more, right?
yeah.
That is one possibility. I don't encourage it or advise it. You kind of need both, right? Because if you just focus on, let's have a ton of capacity so that we can deal with whatever awful things come our way, that's still not you claiming what it is you do want, right?
No, it's basically just like putting, like, wreaking havoc on your nervous system because you're always prepared on, like, the next bad thing is gonna happen now.
I feel like this is an excellent point to point out that Jen is an Enneagram 7 and I am an Enneagram 4. And
I mean, if this was not totally obvious to you,
right, here
anyway.
you may see the differences between us.
Yeah,
Okay, but
quotes
to
ad
get
demonstrandum. Yes.
yes. So to get back to your actual point, it wasn't that I was being pessimistic. It was that I needed to tell myself, like, what would I need to do to accept things the way they are right now?
Yeah.
So I can tell that a person is labeling something good or bad when they fail to accept their present circumstances, right? So by that, I mean, like, when you have the kind of attitude that says, this is unacceptable, this has to change, I will not stand for this. It shows a very narrow capacity, right? Because you need things to be just so in order for you to believe that you will be okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the more you can practice saying, okay, I don't have to like this, okay? Even I, like, introvert, homebody, doesn't like getting 4 kids up and ready for school, did not like the idea of being home with them 24/7, right?
Mm-hmm.
But being able to say, like, this is where we find ourselves, this is what is true in this moment, enabled me to carve out a realistic path to make that reality go the way that I wanted it to go.
Mm-hmm.
And what often happens is, because we don't want to be low vibe, or because we do want to practice being abundant, right?
Yeah. Right.
We refuse to accept what is. And what might be right now is actually, I hate my job. Actually, I'm PMSing. Actually, my kid was a complete turd today, and I'm questioning this decision to have a child to begin with. Whatever it is, that is not low vibe. That is where you are right now.
Yeah,
And
this
can
is
you
your truth
acknowledge
in that moment.
Yes. And the in this moment part is the important part. Like, we're not encouraging wallowing either, right? It's not about like telling some big story about how like you had always questioned whether you should have a child or not, but your partner was really down with it. And so you caved. And this is just one more example of all the ways that you have not listened to yourself. Like, no. The story is not necessary and is not serving you because you done had the kid. Okay. Or you scrapped the offer, or you did whatever the thing is, or you find yourself where you find yourself, right? You're PMSing because you ate like crap all month and your hormones are a little screwy. Okay, but we don't need those details. What is true is that right this second, I'm off. Right this minute, money is not coming in as easily as I would like it to. Right this minute, this client fired me, or nobody's opening my email, or I can't make XYZ work.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
So
but get
in
to a
that
place where
moment,
that's okay.
yeah. Okay. So in that, like, we still need, I feel we still need the pieces of why your PMS is worse, or your money's not coming in, but to a later point in time.
Right.
Some degree, right? Like as a healthy dose of reflection of like, hey, those are things that contributed to me feeling like shit. Yes. Because I haven't slept, I haven't eaten properly, whatever.
But this is the difference between making a story about something and looking at something factually.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So like, are you making it mean something, or are you talking about it the way, like, I don't know, but the way a police officer would write his report, or the way an attorney would talk, and well, they try to be persuasive, but right, like something very
insurance
objective.
expert,
right? Like
this is
something.
What happened. Yeah.
Yes, and it's just this is what happened, and we don't need to like make it mean something, right? And that's not
but how
just.
Though?
But how though? Practicing being okay regardless, noting your okayness, regardless of what's going on in the moment.
Yeah.
I'm breathing. I like this room. I have a friend that I can bitch to about these things. Like, find your okayness in the midst of the, in air quotes, not okayness.
So going back to what we said before, like, oh, okay, I am PMSing right now, or money is not coming in right now as I want. We stay with the money example because we're abundance and shit. So, like, so the first thing then would be in that very moment to regulate your body, to regulate yourself.
Yeah. You're not getting anywhere without. Well, but here's the thing. So, because this whole like notion of just sell band-aids does in fact make people money, but rarely actually works. Part of why it is so vital to be able to be really honest about where it is you find yourself is because you will continue to hose your nervous system if you cannot be honest about it. So people often do this with anger, and they will feel angry and they will try to like breathe through it, right? And you can't make that shit go away. And if you do, it will just keep coming back, right? If you just
the piles under the rock will just get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yes, right. And so you can do the same thing with shame or with
all primary big emotions, right? I mean,
yes,
shame
exactly.
is one of the most damaging one, the one that lingers the most, even longer than anger.
Yes.
So, I mean, shame is perfect for that example.
And I find that like we often don't want to deal with those emotions because we feel that their origin is illogical, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we yeah, this what did I just like I just had an example from my husband. I was like, he did something that pissed me off. And but like it wasn't actually that, right? And it wasn't actually him. And some piece of my head knew that, but I still felt the anger, right? And so, yes, the key was not taking it out on him, recognizing that what I think is the thing is not actually the thing,
Mm-hmm.
but the anger is here. And so, what am I going to do with it? Right. Um, I don't know why, because I haven't been PMSing recently, but I keep using that example. Like that it can be a gift to be made aware of such a raw emotion, even if it, because it doesn't make sense, right? Like you just, I don't know, watch a dog being saved on an Instagram video and you're bursting into tears and you're like, this doesn't even make sense. And it doesn't. And yet, like if you can sit with that and let it be okay that you did in fact have those feelings,
Yeah.
and I'm just going to watch what my body is doing, right?
Yeah.
I don't need to change this. Part of the problem is that we label shame or anger bad. And again, if we can drop the label good bad, well, happy good, anger bad,
Yeah.
right? So like let's make it go away as fast as possible, and we're going to breathe and
Poof.
do like a calm meditation, and then we'll be okay again,
Yeah.
right? And
Mm.
that still indicates a belief in good and bad, right?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm curious. Let's circle a bit back to the thing like, oh, the doggy, the YouTube doggy, the sad YouTube doggy. Like
Yes.
I feel if I mean I don't know. I'm a TV show crier. Like I mean I'm
Mm-hmm.
like I that whatever
I
you
just
can
did it
show.
yesterday.
Yeah, I'm like
Yep.
like
Yep.
so. Anyway, I mean, great outlet if you use it at that. But like I feel a part of that, like if whatever, it's kind of like a little I don't know, trigger is a silly word in that case, but it's kind of like a trigger that opens up. Let's say all your emotions are in like a style in a cupboard kind of style, and each
Yeah.
drawer has like emotion, shame, anger, sadness, whatever. And that little doggy makes the like this drawer of sadness
Yeah.
go a bit open,
Yes.
and everything that is inside that is unprocessed spills out like the box of
Yep.
Pandora. So it's not actually the doggy, maybe, but
Right.
every like all your whole fucking history of sadness up to this point.
Yep.
So
See, but
uh,
if you give meaning to there being a lot in your sadness drawer, why am I like this every month? This is ridiculous.
yeah,
Why can't I just be happy
I
like my
never have my
seven
shit
friends?
together because blah blah.
Yes. Right.
Mm.
It's giving meaning to how you are. And the thing is, it's not that I don't want you to have less sadness in your proverbial cupboard. I would love that for you. Right. But you don't need a change in order to be okay.
Mm.
And the more we can like step into that, the more we can recognize I can handle whatever it is that comes along with me watching YouTube, with me watching a show that's going to make me cry. Well, I mean, the thing is, right? Like, how granular do you want to get about this? Because you
Mm.
could get to the point where you're like, nope, can't do YouTube because every once in a while I bump into a doggy video that makes me cry and I'm uncomfortable with my sadness. So we're just not doing anything over there, right? But that would sound ridiculous to many of us, but we do the exact same thing, just uh, at a different application, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm not going to like let myself make more money, because then my mom is going to say, it must be nice that you could buy yourself clothes. Or because then my dad is going to be like, well, your mother and I always wanted to go to Switzerland, but we couldn't. Right. And
Yeah.
right.
Thanks
So we hold
for the
ourselves
shade.
back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm like the avoiding the doggy video.
Yep.
That I have to give a bit of backstory. I think it's interesting. I was watching the Instagram stories of someone, and I don't know. I must say, it's one of the people I probably should unfollow, but I sometimes like to hate watch them.
I'm just gonna let that go.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can box me later and be like, Jan, what the fuck? But anyway, like, so she's a business slash life coach, whatever. And she says some great things. Not all of them, but some of them are pretty smart. Anyway, so she posted something about not watching the news because it would dysregulate her nervous system and stuff. And it's kind of like doggy example, right? Like you're not watching that because it makes you super sad. And I'm like, yes, I get that to a point. When you really feel this is not good for you, then don't. But at the same time, I'm like, bitch, you gotta know what's going on in the world. Like, I mean, or at least that's my projection.
Right. So my first question there was like, to what end?
Like knowing what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
Well,
see, here's the thing, because you could watch it because you are used to making yourself miserable. You could watch it because you like the anger that it stirs up in you when you see people of a certain political persuasion doing shit you don't understand.
Yeah.
Right.
Or it confirms that nothing is changing, so you also don't have to change. Or
yes.
Whatever.
I mean, for a million different reasons.
Yeah.
You could watch it, or you could watch it to be informed and like
and to be grateful that you have, I don't know, you're not currently living in Sudan, or you don't have any relatives there, or like
or you could use it to advocate or to know where it is you want your philanthropic efforts to go, or whatever, right? This is the thing, is like, I can't tell you that a thing is going to be, in air quotes, good or bad for you, because only you can discern for yourself, if you've practiced it,
if whether it's a good thing I'm doing or a bad thing I'm doing.
Yes. Are you doing it to just confirm how it is you are, or are you doing it because it's shaping you into the kind of person you want to be?
Okay. So if you cannot tell me, thanks very much. Like,
you should know that at this point.
I know. I've been on the receiving end of like, I cannot tell you. Yeah, I know. God damn it. But give us a few pointers so we can distinguish for ourselves if this is actually good or bad. Because it takes one to know one, right? Like, there are a lot of things who maybe in a moment feel good to you, that if you look at it long term may not. So
that's why you said good and bad and I did not.
That is very true. See? Okay, I'm bumping down a level from my master splinter level awareness. Damn it. I feel like in a Donkey Kong game of the 80s, where Donkey Kong is upstairs and is rolling these barrels and you're like, chop, chop, chop. Yeah. Okay. I'm knocking down to level 1. Thank you very much. Okay. How can we distinguish for ourselves if we label something?
Like, this is not like better or worse. I am not like sitting on some kind of high horse over here. Like, I mess this shit up all the time. I'm just particularly skilled at noticing it in other people, right? I'm particularly skilled at catching the words of others. being raised by narcissists has its advantages because you start catching every word.
You gotta be good with clues and hints and vibes.
Yes.
And
right. So, to your actual question, how do we know, right?
yeah, let's leave
good
the
or
raised by
bad.
narcissist part for another episode.
That's a different episode. So, are you reacting to your body? This is why we can't use good and bad, right? Because you could just be reacting to your body. My body feels sad, tired. So my body feels stressed. I will go eat the tub of Haagen-Dazs, right? That's not necessarily what is good for you, right? Because it is a reaction rather than an intentional choice. And the thing is, like, you can make intentional choices that actually hose you, right? But if it was intentional, you will understand why you did that thing, and you will be able to make an intentional choice to pivot out of that thing that is not actually what it is you want. So rather than good, bad, I think of it more like, are you being proactive? Are you being intentional? Are you conscious of what it is you're choosing and why? Do you understand the underlying motivation for your decision? Or is it just like, this is what I felt like doing. This is what seemed right at the time. I'm not even sure why, right? I read this thing and it seemed like the thing to do. I watched the news. I mean, we can react to anything. I can just as well sit down and eat a tub of Haagen-Dazs because it sounds delicious and it's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
Right? This is why I can't tell a person, but you have to start feeling like, what is the reason behind my decision? In prep work, which you are obviously familiar with, I talk about asking yourself why over and over and over and over. Why are you doing, or why are you making the decision that you're making, or the choice that you're making? And at some point, you're either going to kind of why yourself into a circle, and you're going to understand that, like, you're doing this because someone else said so, or because you've been conditioned to think this is the right thing to do, or because, like, it just seems right, but you can't really put your finger on it, or because there's some kind of underlying fear, right? If I don't, well, then blank will happen, right?
Or you just don't know any better.
Yes, exactly. Right? I haven't considered any other option, so I guess I've got to, right? The other possibility is you start asking why over and over and over, and eventually you get really annoyed with me asking why, and you say, because I want to, okay? Like, I just want to. And that's when you know, like, oh, okay, well, you just want to. Then, like, go with my blessings, right?
Yeah.
You're just choosing to do the thing, as opposed to being driven by something you don't want.
Yeah, that's the whole of, like, why your kind of like energy or vibe you're bringing into the situation matters.
Yes.
I feel like there's another layer, like, as well to this, right? Like, if you know you did something in a situation, it's kind of like you need to know that this was the best you could at the time.
Yes.
Right? Like, I mean, it took me quite a while to figure out that, since I haven't learned, or I haven't been modeled like nervous system body regulation as a kid.
Yep.
Thanks, mom. Thanks, dad. That
also society at large,
but thanks, narcissistic parents. But like, I used food to regulate myself.
Yes.
Right? Like, starchy food, carbohydrates, woo, feeling good.
Yeah.
So that kind of, and like, I had to, or I was in the process of accepting that that was the best I could at that time. Otherwise, my whole body would have giggled like, and and that again, if you see certain things happening over and over again, like sometimes there is also like a real biological reason for things.
Yes, of
right?
course.
Like, I mean, I recently learned, like, I don't know, I might also be in ADHD club. Woohoo! Who knows? Like, it's still ongoing. The jury's out. So that would make total sense then, that obviously that you needed some sort of self-regulation, and that's harder, and you went to something else. Like, it's really, yeah, as you said, like looking at that and then knowing, and I feel that's another conundrum, mindfuck, to not like shit on yourself for the things you did.
Right. So, I mean, we've all heard like what got you here won't get you there.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. What you got you your first 10K will not get your 100K money.
Yeah.
Blah, blah.
Okay.
Like,
we have got to stop centering everything around money.
I know.
We've got to.
I was
No, I get it. That is exactly how people use it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. I mean, I was just like, I have to. Like, it was, the silver platter was there, and I just had to. But yeah, it's okay.
Like, this means that we can also use this retroactively, though, right? Is that like the strategies that you have now weren't necessarily available to you then, right? Like in the example of you being a kid and finding safety in food, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if I'm not going to be hugged enough, I can at least have a full enough belly that my body won't die, right? Yeah. Well, that's not how you think of it as a 20, 30, 40-year-old, right? Because you understand you could feed yourself no matter what. But when you're a little kid, you're dependent
on your food source, which is your caregiver. Right? Like,
yes, right. And so when we are learning to give ourselves grace, it is understanding that the level of thinking that you are reflecting on your choices in the past was not available to you then, right? And on the same token, the level of decisions that you will be able to make in the future, you cannot possibly conceptualize right now. And so the things that you are doing right now, the more you practice not giving those things meaning, the more that you practice understanding that those things are just serving a purpose, right? The easier it is to let go of those things. So if you are overly married to podcasting, right? Because like, oh, this is how people hear about me. And then this is
my magical silver bullet, and it better fucking work.
Right.
Or else.
So, but then, and if it does right now, that's great. And in 5 years, when the landscape has completely changed, if you are still married to this idea of like, yeah, but I'm a podcaster, right? You're either not going to allow yourself to do the thing that does work to get the result that you want, or you're not going to allow yourself to just do the podcasting because you enjoy it and you want
whatever
to keep doing
whatever other thing you want to do now, right? You're also kind of like crippling your own change, your own possibility to change.
Yes. Right. So this is the thing, is like this all relates to this meaning making that we've been talking about, is because the more significance we give to our decisions right now, the harder it will be in the future when those decisions are no longer serving us. Right. And the more meaning you have given to your decisions right now, the harder you're going to be on yourself for the decisions that you've made in the past.
Enneagram 7 disclaimer: I need a meaning-making machine mug.
Okay, we can do that.
Right? No,
that is possible.
Yeah, which that was also a bit of an insider, because in Jess's online coursework, school prep work, we have an entire imaginary merch shop. So
It's true.
it goes
There
into the
is.
merch shop. So I feel kind of like we have come like beautifully full circle with not making meaning,
Yep.
not trying to pretend we have any fucking idea what's gonna happen in the future.
Yes.
And instead of having an outside in definition or definition building way, we gotta go flip it and be inside out. And
Well,
having the knowing
yes.
that whatever like gets thrown at us, we can handle it.
Yes. And here's what I'll say. You need both, right? But part of why I talk so much about the side that I'm talking about is because the flip side gets talked about a lot.
Mm.
You could go buy a few hundred different workshops on your vision boards and how to manifest and to some degree that is true. Like to some degree those things will work, and to some degree you do need the skill set of being able to say like, this is what I'm going for, this is what I want for myself, this is where I'm heading. This, like, the ownership piece is just as important. It's just that the ownership piece is already emphasized for most of us, right? And so like it's not just about that.
Yeah.
Right. And the more we can weigh, right? Like, am I having an ownership problem, or am I having like a capacity or an attachment problem, right? The more we know which way to lean, right? So like you labeling me pessimistic, it is harder for me to own what it is that I want. I am naturally just really comfortable with shit, right? I naturally tolerate a lot. And so I know that about myself. And that means that I have to stretch myself in the direction of like allowing myself to say, yeah, but this is what I want. Yeah, this is what I'm going for.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to happen. But if I've really like decided that that is what I want, then I will work it until it works. Right.
Yeah.
And because I have such a tremendous capacity, I should be able to do that. Like, I should be able to get knocked down 20 times and say, yeah, I still want this thing. And so here we go, 21. Right. And like, but that's the trick, is knowing which way you lean,
Mm-hmm.
and then making sure that you're accounting for that.
Yeah. Which always starts with, I don't know, either get a big tub of Haagen-Dazs or a big bottle of red wine and start figuring shit out.
That is certainly one method.
I mean, not say that's the recommended way to do that.
Right.
So, I mean, one way for sure that I could recommend going at this is working with you. So where can people find you? Like, see, I'm
It was very slick.
I know, right? I'm like, ooh, I'm impressed by sometimes, like, some days I'm impressed myself, and other days, I don't know, I put shit in the oven and like, I don't know, whatever.
You don't know what comes out. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I don't know. Some like maybe that was my kid, but I found like keys in the oven, and I'm like,
oh,
I don't know, miss, it's whatever. But how can people find you online, Chas?
Okay, so the best is to go to my website, Jessica Eley, ELEY.com. I have a resources page there. It also like links up to all of the other podcast episodes I've done before. Some people enjoy binge listening to me, so I've been told. I am also a Instagram stories person. You can also find the very diagram that kicked off this entire conversation on my Instagram, which is I am Jess Eley.
And I always feel like this needs a disclaimer because Jess's stories are they're good. They're a handful.
They're blog posts.
They're fucking Substacks or Medium posts. Like, yes. I don't know. So you I don't know. Instagram should invent like a feature where you just have to press the Instagram story once and it just stays that way, because
yes,
you're pressing Jess's story for like 5 minutes until you read and process the entire fucking post, and it's like,
you know, I hear that some people just take a screenshot.
Oh, those are the very smart people. Damn. True.
So,
Jess, thank you so much for being. Oh, I almost forgot. I always have one last question. What book are you currently reading?
Wait, what am I reading? Well, I'm reading a few things. I'm reading Harry Potter again.
Which one?
I'm on 3. No particular reason why. I also recently dusted off A Course in Miracles again. It's probably actually where I really learned this whole, like, and by learned I mean like picked up very slowly over time, right? There's not like some chapter.
The book is a lot.
The book is a lot.
Like,
so
you cannot be. I just gotta sit down and read this book. Like,
no. Oh God, no. But I a lot of my like learning to not make things mean things probably came from there. And then just like some smutty books, because you know I have like those. The headphones on, and it's how I pretend that I'm not taking care of my 4 kids. Though if I read too many smutty books, I may end up with a 5th kid. So maybe I should stop that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That. Well, I mean, depends on where you want to go, right? Like, I mean,
True. 4 is a good number, I think.
True. I mean, I would always ask, is 5 that number where you need like a bigger car, or could 5 squeeze in the current car, or do you need like to rebuild your house or would 5? We're already doing that. Okay, 5, you got to go live in the basement. I'm sorry, you were not planned. Okay, well, we're gonna banter off now. Jess, thank you so much for being on the Scenic Group podcast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.